Greetings and welcome to the Dr. J Vlog Series. It is Thursday, October 16th, 2025, and on Thursdays we talk about knowledge and science. And so we're talking about tribalism and then more specifically about homicide. And in yesterday's vlog then, I discussed the notion of the potentially lethal nature of human beings, noting that we tend to kill conspecifics, that is, members of our own species, at much higher rates than what we typically find elsewhere in nature amongst a range of different species. And in perhaps the most comprehensive study to date, Jose Gomez and several of his colleagues in Spain published an article a few years back titled "The Phylogenetic Roots of Human Lethal Violence." And in effect, they examined the array of data that are available from a sample of over 1,000 different mammalian species from 137 different families. That is based on the standard Linnaean taxonomy of species. And so these species existed from as far back as the Paleolithic era, right down through the present day. And they then assessed the percentage of deaths due to conspecifics, and using phylogenetic comparative tools, they predicted the values for humans as well. And so the proportion of human deaths phylogenetically predicted to be caused by interpersonal violence over the grand sweep of human history and prehistory seemed to be about 2%. And so more specifically, then, they calculated the level of lethal violence as the percentage with respect to all documented sources of mortality, but the percentage of total deaths due to conspecifics, again, kind of what we would call interpersonal violence, various kinds. And so amongst other species, these included infanticide, cannibalism, intergroup aggression, and any other types of intraspecific killings. And then amongst humans, of course, the killings included wars and homicides, genocides, infanticides, executions, and any other types of intentional homicides or conspecific killings. And so their research, it's quite fascinating, documents that a great many species have indeed used at times lethal violence against their conspecifics, but that it actually tends to be relatively rare in the grander scheme of all possible sources of mortality. Crucially, lethal violence was quite uncommon in certain clades. Clades, that refers to groups of organisms that are evolved from common ancestors. So, for example, bats and whales and lagomorphs all appeared not to have any measurable levels of conspecific killings. Yet in other species, conspecific killings were much more common, including amongst primates, which would be our primary concern, I suppose. Although there appear to be a bit of evolutionary flexibility as well at the level of individual species. So bonobos, for example, appear to be far less deadly or homicidal than chimpanzees. And that result suggests that additional factors may subsequently modify the level of lethal violence in otherwise related species. And that certainly then applies to human beings. Most notably, the evidence suggests that human beings have a strong reliance upon territoriality and social behavior, especially our strong attachments to those who are identified as members of our own group or our own tribes. And when that happens, that tends to ramp up the levels of conspecific violence. So this is something we're going to look at in greater depth again tomorrow. But across species then, the level of violence in general was found to be higher in the social and territorial species as opposed to compared to the solitary and non-territorial species. Okay, and then finally, if you look at the levels of lethal violence over the vast expanses of time and based on the fossil records, the researchers then concluded that, quote, lethal violence is deeply rooted in the primate lineage, end quote. Now, again, what we're going to talk about next is that there's some good news and some bad news with respect to human beings. So we're going to look at how all of this plays out in the human condition in tomorrow's vlog. So stay tuned. We'll see you tomorrow. In the meantime, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs in abundance. Peace.